So the deputy, everyone saw the video, everyone saw the photo. The photo I had posted for this contest in our story and on our feed was around how the deputy came to be holding her weapon and her flashlight. And this is the exact reason why I developed the product that I developed. And a lot of people, when I first developed it, were like, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't know. First of all, when I did the research, we found that over 80% of police departments did not allow their officers to have weapon-mounted lights. So that is right off the bat something that a lot of people say, well, I'll just use a weapon-mounted light, weapon-mounted light, if she had a weapon-mounted light. Well, listen, most departments, now if you don't know, you don't know. If your department allows weapon-mounted lights, you don't know about all the departments out there that don't allow weapon-mounted lights. But the reality is, most don't. More departments than not. So most of the officers out there, over 80% in our poll, do not allow weapon-mounted lights. Some departments allow their SWAT guys to have weapon-mounted lights. Some departments allow their K-9 guys to have weapon-mounted lights. But most departments, our research found in the United States, over 80% of departments do not allow weapon-mounted lights. A lot of controversy over that. Most of the time when we asked, they said it was a liability issue. They did not want, here we go, thick blue line. There's a package coming out to you. Check your mailbox. It's coming out to you. Got some gear. Thanks for signing in. So the female officer had a weapon. It did not have a weapon-mounted light. Just for Instagram to know that this is a plastic fake gun, SIG, replica of what I carried on duty for 13 years. So we're gonna get into it. So she started out on the passenger side of the vehicle, which is the passenger side of the vehicle here. And she was talking to the suspect through the window. The suspect had the window down and she was talking to the suspect. And for whatever reason, she decided to go around to the driver's side of the vehicle. We don't know, I don't know, whatever reason. I, as an officer, always like to be on the passenger side. I like to approach on the passenger side, shine the light in, and it always felt like I had a little bit of an element of surprise coming up on the passenger side. I can kind of see what was going on before they saw me, and I would always stay back here behind this B-pillar so they never got a good, really, vision of me. That was just a tactic that I was taught, that I learned, that I embraced. So she is talking to the suspect, or the subject, the driver in the vehicle. It appears he doesn't speak English. So she's talking, and then for whatever reason, she wants to go around to the driver's side. So what I'm gonna do is she walks behind the vehicle, and I'm gonna take you around to the driver's side here. So she goes around to the driver's side, and she gets to the driver's side, and here she is now on the driver's side. She's talking to the driver through the window on the driver's side here. I'm gonna try to spin this around, a little difficult here. And she's now talking to the driver. As she's talking to the driver presents a weapon, and the weapon is pointed at her. She does a very good job of acting quickly, getting out of the way. Now, while she's talking to the driver, she has her light, and you can see this in the video. If you watch the video, it's posted on our page. It's posted on like 100 Instagram pages. She has her light, like most officers, in her offhand. This is her weapon hand. She's keeping free, and she's talking. You can see she's talking to the driver like this, shining the light. You actually see her light. But then what happens? He presents the weapon. All right? It seemed like he was fidgeting it with his left hand, and then when she went around, she lost sight of him. And like I said, I don't know why she decided to go around. Maybe she sensed it, maybe she saw something. I don't know. It's okay. She made the decision. She's going to go around to the driver's side. Maybe she wanted some closer contact, whatever that may be. We're not Monday morning quarterbacking. But when she came to the driver's side, that's when he presented the weapon. She said, roll the window down, roll the window. And I think he was saying in Spanish, he doesn't want any problems, he doesn't want any problems. And then boom, he presents the weapon, he fires around. She gets out of the way. Now the body camera has her going around the back of the car, and she comes around, and now she's back here, and now you see her and she's now firing rounds from here into the passenger side of the vehicle. Okay, she's firing rounds from here into the passenger side of the vehicle. But what you see in the video is as she came around to this side, obviously as she was coming around the back of the vehicle, she drew her weapon. She drew her weapon and she had her light here. And she came up and she came around to this side, and you see she's firing into the passenger side of the vehicle like this. And you see as she grips her weapon, you see where that light is pointed. The light is pointed directly at her, and that's why in the video you see this light illuminating, and she's illuminating herself. Now she's getting rounds off, and apparently they are good rounds. I don't know how many hits she had, but they said the threat was neutralized, so assuming that the threat was either killed or disabled. But as she's firing the rounds, you see, and that's the picture we posted, that flashlight is pointing at her. Now, how does that happen? Well, it's very easy. It's very easy. That easily happens. Not only is your adrenaline pumping and it's you just got shot at, so we're not pointing the finger at anyone. All of us would be in a frenzy, of course, when we had just had a round fired at us. But what happened was she was talking to the driver like this, with her flashlight in her hand. She ran around to the back of the vehicle. As she was running, she drew her weapon. And as she drew her weapon, she came up, and what did she do with her hand? She did let her hand do what naturally happens. If she didn't have the light in her hand, how do you naturally come up on your weapon with your offhand? You come up, and you come up under, and you grip. You come up under, and you grip. We stack those thumbs, right? And you come up under, and you grip. What happened with her is she did just that. She came around, drew her weapon, and she came up under with her grip. But when you come up under with your grip to fire, where's your flashlight pointing? Your flashlight, Derek, what's up? Your flashlight's pointing at you. That's why in that video, the flashlight was pointing at her, illuminating herself. Now, of course, we're not pointing the finger of blame, but how did this happen? It was just muscle memory. She came up to get her gun, and now that flashlight was pointing at her. She was lighting herself up as she was letting the rounds go at the vehicle. She probably didn't even know it. It was just a muscle thing. She came up, and of course, we all shoot better. We're all sharper shooters with both hands on our weapon. And it just so happened. Now, in training, when we qualified in training, people say, Project Raptor, I don't have the Raptor, I got the Tahoe, it looks more coppish. So, you're supposed to do one of these, or you're supposed to do one of these, or you're supposed to do one of these. Let me tell you something, when you're talking to a driver of a vehicle, and they just draw a weapon and fire around at you, and you run around that, and you draw that weapon, to sit there and go like this, boom, boom, or like, no, your muscle memory is gonna come up. You're gonna come up, you have that light here, and you're gonna come up, and look what happens. That light is pointing right at you. So during that encounter, she was illuminating her own body with that light pointed right at her, and she was firing those rounds. That's why we developed, you brought a real truck to the ring, the extremity glove. Derek, SC Arms. So now, the extremity glove. A lot of people say, oh, you know, weapon mounted light, weapon mounted light. Well, guess what? Guess what? A lot of people, a lot of agencies, over 80%, don't allow weapon mounted lights. So what did I develop? I developed something because I hated holding a flashlight in my hand. I just hated it. So, because of situations just like this, where you're talking to someone and things go south, and next thing you know, you're probably doing one of these, like this female officer did. It just muscle memory. It's not her fault. She did nothing wrong. She acted super fast. Now, but with the extremity light, here you see the light trains along the side of the weapon. Now, a weapon mounted light would probably be right around here. Well, this light tracks right down the barrel, and you have that full light. So if you had it on, I'll just illuminate it here. There you go. So it's tracking right down the barrel. Okay, so now you have that. What does this afford you? this affords you the ability now when you come around that car. Now, to me, I had this light on my weapon hand. I always had it on my weapon hand. Thank you for tapping the hearts, whoever's tapping those hearts. These are really important because this could save someone's life. So make sure you're sharing this, tap those hearts. We're getting out of here in 1 minute. And we're gonna do the giveaway. Hopefully the person's on here. So what I liked is I would go up to a vehicle and I would be talking to a passenger or a driver in a vehicle. I'm gonna bring this camera in closer. I would be talking on the passenger side and I would have this light illuminating the driver. Now, if something happened, I had to draw my weapon, I was able to draw my weapon and the light that was on them is still on them. And when I come up with that second hand that doesn't have a flashlight in it, I'm right there, I'm on it. Now, if you have that flashlight in your hand like this officer had, and you don't have this light on, and you just are running flashlight, what happens? You're like this talking to someone, and then you see the weapon, you're like, oh! You draw your weapon, and now where's my flashlight pointing? It's pointing down at the ground, because that's our muscle memory. That's our muscle memory. I'm talking to someone, hey bud, let me see. Oh! That's it. Now you see, what are you looking at? You're looking at the back of the flashlight. You're looking at the button, and guess what? Now the flashlight's illuminating you. What good is that? That's our muscle memory, once again. I know, it's the best holster, Levi's, or wherever these jeans are from. Gap. All right, so once again, you're talking to a suspect on a motor vehicle stop. You see a weapon, you say, oh, and that hand comes up to that weapon, all right? I don't know many people who have drawn their weapon and they're like, I got the light here. I don't know many people who've ever done that on a motor vehicle stop. I don't know anyone that's done that. Anything can give you a tactile advantage, a plus. Yes, that's right. So what happens? Our muscle memory. Talking to someone, hey, what's going on? Hey, let me see your hands. Hey, let me see your hands. Now the light's pointing at me because you're coming up to that weapon. If you don't have a weapon mounted light, what? Now you see here, if you're talking to someone and you have this light here and you're talking to them, like, hey, what's going on? Let me see your driver's license. You know, you have this hand free, okay? Hey, now that light's right on them. Let me see your hands. Now, what else does this afford you? What else does this afford you? Now the light's on the suspect. If you're firing rounds, the rounds are now being illuminated, so you're seeing what you're firing at. Because you better believe there's an attorney out there somewhere who's gonna say, hey officer, your light, when you did this, was pointing at you, and you were shooting into the dark. What were you shooting at? Did you even see? So of course there's an attorney out there trying to get a buck who's gonna say that. So now you have that. Now also, if you don't have our extremity light system, and you have this, and now you draw that weapon, you're like, oh, okay, and now you're in that position where the light's facing you, and you're drawing rounds, okay? Now you need to say, shots fired, right? Now she did a good job, this officer did a good job, she said shots fired. But now, your shots are fired, she's lighting herself up with the flashlight, no harm, obviously, you know, it's not ideal, not her fault, but now, what do you need to do? You need to get to the radio. You need to get to the radio. How do you get to the radio? You get to the radio with your off hand. You don't get to the radio with your gun hand. So now you're like this, and now you got to get to your radio. How do you get to your radio? Well, you got to go like this and say, hey, shots fired. I need another car. Shots fired. Now what's going on? What's going on? Now, where's your light now? It's pointing at the ground. What are you doing with your light? It's pointing at the ground. It's not pointing at the threat. Is he still moving around? Is he bringing a gun up to shoot you? You can't see. It's not possible. But with the extremity light, when you draw your weapon and you're talking to someone, hey, what's going on? Hey, let me see your hands. Hey, let me see your hands. Now you draw your shot, light shining, on target, rounds on target, light on target. Now you're done firing your rounds, you're assessing. This hand is free and there's no flashlight in there. The light is not coming off the target. Get to your radio. And I need another car here. Shots fired, shots fired. Need another car. All right? That's how we do it. That's how that happens. Now, even if you're in a situation where you don't have our extremity glove, and let's say you're talking to the suspect and you say, oh, Let me see your hands. And you come up and you do one of these. And you say, okay, you fire your rounds, you fire your shots. And now what do you need? You need to get on the radio. Say you do this, whatever it's called, Weaver or whatever. You do this and you're shining your light on your bad guy. You get your shots right. Now you got to get to your radio. How do you get to your radio? Well, you need to keep the gun on the target, right? How do you get to your radio? You're going to come here, take your light off the bad guy who could still be moving around, who could still be reaching for a weapon, and you got to come to your radio. You got to come to your radio. Now your light's pointing at the ground, once again illuminating your own person, your own body. Why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why would you do that? Keep that light on the target. Keep this hand free. Keep this light on the target. Keep this hand free. Hey, I need another car. Shots fired. You have that full grip. That's how we shoot the best. That full grip, thumb stacked, right? Light on target. Now I could do anything with this hand. If I don't have a weapon mounted light, like over 80% of agencies don't have weapon mounted lights, now it's right there. It's right on target. Now I can now keep the gun on target. I can go, I can maybe, if you want to, you can go, you can open a door, assess, see what's going on, get to something else on your belt, get to your radio, whatever it might be. But now there's no flashlight in this hand that you're fiddling around with, trying to light yourself up, trying to do one of these. So great for what it was developed for, which was pat downs, handcuffing. When you're handcuffing, you don't want to have that light in your hand. Here it is. Now, remember, the extremity light also has a touchpad sensor right inside the glove, so you don't have to have it constant on. You can just touch your thumb right here and turn the light on as needed, as you need. Some officers place it strategically so when they grab their weapon, the light is illuminated. That's great. But both hands are always free. Level 5 cut resistant in this version, impact protection if you bump the corner of the car, going around the corner, whatever it may be. But your hands are always free. And touchscreen fingertips. So you can scroll on the gram in between car stops, because that's very important. It's very important. You got to send those snaps out and all that stuff, right? But that is the key. That is the key. Oh, remember, the touchscreen is not just here, it's on the tip, because that's what we use to touch. We don't type on our screens like this, we type on our screens like this. So that's why I added the touchscreen on the fingertip, not just the pad. And so there too. So this is what it's about. Safety, ingenuity, innovation. These are great. These are great for certain situations. But as you saw in that video with this Napa County deputy, in that moment where she ran around that car and she drew that weapon and she had that light on that car, she came up, began shining the light on herself, and next thing you know, that muscle memory took over, and that was it. So we're gonna announce our winner on the post. But I'm gonna hop over to Facebook right now. Our team in New York City picked the winner. I know the name. I'm not gonna say the name because I didn't see that person here, but we are gonna announce it here. Do me a favor, if you found value in this video, send it to one person, because it may save that person's life. Send it to one person.